to another episode of the Archives with Adam and Fab. This time we have another child star still in the business of acting, so on and so forth. Y'all may remember him from Halloweentown. We got Joey Zimmerman on. How you doing today, Joey?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Hey, not too bad, not too bad. It's a nice Sunday. I'll take it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so Joey, I mean, a lot of us know you from Halloweentown, but when we spoke to get this all set up, you were telling me that you are into theater and you had been wrapping up and things like that. So for everybody, including myself, that knows you as the guy or the kid from Halloweentown, can you give us a little bit more about you so we know who you are?
Sure. I have been an actor of all types since I was about 5 years old. That's when I got my start, and I had some experience in commercials and in movies and on TV and a little bit in theater when I was a kid too. And for the most part, like throughout my childhood, I was doing a lot of the on-camera stuff. But it was, maybe in my early 20s when I started doing a lot more theater again and rediscovering, my appreciation for it, and have tried to stay very active in that community wherever I've lived, doing at least one production a year if possible. That's been my goal.
There you go. No, I mean that's awesome that you're keeping it going. I mean, it sounds like it's just been a part of your life from the beginning to end.
Yep.
So like I said, we talked about you doing some theater. What is it again that you were actually doing that you had just wrapped up on?
Just recently, I did a production of 12 Angry Jurors at the Fire Hall Theater, and we ran for about 3 weeks in April. And it was very dramatic, just kind of an hour and a half of people getting angry and shouting at each other. But it's a really powerful and moving piece. And the characters themselves are really fun, and it gives, as an actor, a lot of opportunity to you know breathe your own kind of life into it. It's not strictly what you have on the page to work with. We had directors that were very encouraging of that. So it was just a great opportunity to play, even though it was even though it was an angry one. And my character specifically was probably the angriest one.
Okay. Is there a play is there somewhere we could go and watch that, or some of your past things of theater that you've done?
Unfortunately, no. I think some of the crew members had recorded bits and pieces during the run, but I'm not aware of any official recordings that have been done and posted anywhere.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think it would have been fun to see people just yelling at each other. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So you said you started at the young age of 5. When did you decide that this was your calling, to get into acting and theater?
It happened pretty naturally. It happened pretty early and pretty naturally because my dad has been an actor all of his life, doing theater and directing as well. And he moved the family from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I was born, to San Diego, California, where he could try and focus on that a little bit more. And me just being a young kid and going along with him to rehearsals for plays that he was in and hearing about his experiences just kind of made it natural that it was a fun thing that I wanted to do too. My parents were very encouraging of that, just to give it a try. And I gave it a try, and it turned out to be something that I really enjoyed. I certainly wasn't expecting it, but it just all happened very, very naturally. I had a good time with it and ended up working a lot and making a lot of friends. And it really seemed like the natural thing to do.
So in school for me, a lot of people, they look down on, drama and things like that. And I was one of those people, but I actually did drama class back in middle school, which is a long time ago. And I loved it because I made up my own skit, and, I just got to recruit the people that I wanted to do it. And it was a lot of fun. So I was like, okay, you know what? This isn't too bad. Right. And I wish a lot of people, didn't think negatively on it, because there are creative minds out there, and there's a lot of things behind it that are just amazing.
Right. Yeah. It just it takes the being in the right environment, and it takes the right encouragement. And I agree. I think if everybody had that opportunity, that would be really great.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like for me, because like my thing, so it wasn't like theater or anything like that, and that's what a lot of people think. But like drama, it could be anything. So my skit was, I loved Fear Factor back in the day. Like I made my own props with my Oreo dirt, whatever it was, with like gummy worms, right?
Yeah.
And it was just more about like trying to make a Fear Factor type thing. But it could be anything. Some people have theater that they like to do. Some people have skits, and that's really like even our favorite comedians and things like that. They've gone through and probably done some form of drama, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, and for me, like I took my girlfriend to go see Frozen touring the musical when they came here to Seattle, and I was like, okay, this is pretty fun. And I went to New York this past summer. I was like, okay, I need to go see a musical just because they're fun.
Yeah.
It's a good way to spend some time. So
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of musicals. I've never been in one. Those are a little bit intimidating for me because I can sing a little bit, but the
mm,
dancing is where I'm not so sure. And just man, it looks like a lot of work. I have a lot of respect for people in musicals because they're working super hard.
for sure. Have you ever thought about trying your hand at it? I know you say you're not a fan of the dancing and things like
Uh,
that.
if I will try at some point. I've made it a goal. Like if the right one, if there's one I really like comes along with a part that I go, something that I
Yeah,
can't resist, basically, then I go, okay, yeah, I'll give it a try. But for now, I'm just content to let the professionals handle that one.
definitely. So I mean, we could talk Halloweentown all day, but I really want to talk about like some of your earlier roles, because obviously Halloweentown was not your first role. You say you started out doing like commercials. What was like your first acting role?
My very first role was in a McDonald's commercial for I think it was for Happy Meal toys from the Tiny Toon cartoons,
Okay.
and I remember playing a kid who could see all the cartoons running around McDonald's, but the parents couldn't, obviously. So I remember I was there trying to like get my parents' attention. Hey, look at the cartoon animals, and of course they didn't see. It's natural. And but I remember I had a blast. I just got to hang out at a McDonald's all day and just play around and goof off, and that was it. And that was the beginning. And I thought, hey, this
This
is
is
really
it.
fun. We could do this more.
Did you have any other commercials or anything like that?
Yeah, I did a lot of commercials when I was a kid. I'm trying to think of what some I there was this one kind of bizarre commercial I did for cereal. I think it was for like a a frosted flakes or something. And at one point, my head in the commercial turned into Ken Griffey Jr.'s head. So I
Oh
became
wow.
this weird hybrid, like Ken Griffey Jr. head, me body, kind of nightmare fuel. I'm pretty sure we were selling. It was one of those things where like those commercials where you can't remember what they were selling, but you can definitely remember what was going on. Like that's one of that. It's one of those for me. I think it was cereal, but all I remember is I turned into Ken Griffey Jr. and that was that was
That's
entertaining.
pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. I'll have to look for that because, like I said, we're from Seattle. Ken Griffey obviously is a staple to us here. But
Nice.
it sounds like a Frosted Flakes Supercharge. I don't know if you remember those back in the day.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. It's got to be something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So you start in some roles, Treehouse Hostage. I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen that yet, but I'm definitely going to make it a point to do so.
That one's hard to
Um,
find. That was one of those direct to video. You can only get
okay.
it at Blockbuster when it came out, and then now with everything being streaming, I think it's partly Disney owned, but I don't think it's on Disney Plus. It's in one of those
Okay.
weird in between areas for sure.
I'm willing to bet I might be able to find it on YouTube. YouTube has all the movies, I swear. Like somebody uploads them, and I mean, even if I have to pay for it.
I was
But can you give me a little info on that? I mean, I'm kind of curious. I know a scene
sure.
that was.
That was a really fun movie. That I
Mm.
got to work with one of my childhood heroes, Jim Varney, who played Ernest in all the Ernest
Oh
movies,
yeah.
and it was this really fun little comedy where just a couple of little misfit kids accidentally trap a notorious bank robber in their treehouse in their backyard. And so, of course, it turns out that the bank robber is innocent. He's like actually a really good guy, and so the kids work with him, and they cook up all these bizarre schemes to to try to catch the real bad guys and stuff like that. And it was just 3 weeks of hanging out with Ernest, and the rest of the kids, in the movie, we all got to be pretty close during the filming, and it was a fun movie and a fun experience, behind the scenes, which is when those two things meet together. That's always memorable.
Man, that's crazy. You get to hang out with Ernest.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
He was great. He's an old Southern guy, so he was full of old stories about the business and about filming. And I remember this one day, one of the locations we shot at was a house that was supposedly haunted. I remember a lot of people on the crew and in the cast saying they felt bizarre things and saw some weird things out of the corners of their eye during filming. And so I remember one day between scenes, we all got together and just started telling ghost stories because that was the mood. That's what was going on. And so he had he had some fun ones that of course, I can't remember the details of now, but I just remember being captivated. One of those moments. Oh, I'm sitting here listening to Ernest tell ghost stories.
That's pretty awesome. I think that would have been fun to be around. I mean, and I've loved the Ernest movies. Ernest Goes to Jail, all of those. So that's cool, man. That's pretty awesome. You starred in that '70s show for a couple episodes, Seventh Heaven, Becker. So I mean, those are some pretty iconic shows for the time that they came out, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, those were a lot of fun. It was kind of cool being part of that.
Yeah. Was there ever a time where there was like a challenge in acting for you? I know I'm sure it's not like all peaches and cream, just everything's gonna be a good time. But I mean, has there ever been a challenge for you that you faced?
As far as like a challenge of the business, or more like a challenge of like an acting challenge.
Yeah, like an acting challenge, and yeah, even in the business.
Well, I do remember as I was getting older, kind of making a transition over from child star to teen star. There was a couple of weeks where, and I know, it seems like what a travesty. I was getting a lot of work at the time, which was really nice. But the problem was there was some over scheduling happening and like things that I couldn't do because I was already doing something else, and where schedules had to be rearranged. And I just remember, I remember hearing a lot of talk from one project onto the other, like, oh, you're busy working over on that show. Oh, well, we don't like them, or whatever little comments they wanted to make. And I won't name anyone in particular, obviously, but and I just kind of, that's when I started to realize how cutthroat a lot of that business could be. And I was like, wow, well, what are people saying about me when I'm not around and things like that. And so that wasn't the most fun experience. Maybe not challenging, but it certainly was a bit of a shocking realization at the time. And then acting wise, maybe it wasn't a challenge, but when I did the fourth Halloweentown, we had Sarah Paxton instead of Kimberly Brown. It was interesting, because with Kimberly, I had created this almost real life brother sister relationship with. It was easy to draw from when we were making the movies, and so having someone new in there, it made it you just had to come at it with a different sort of a strategy of like, okay, well, we don't have that brother sister relationship, and I guess it's more, it's more like an acting. It really is more like an acting challenge where you now have to act and pretend like you've known this person for years, and it was just interesting having to do in that capacity.
Yeah, and I was gonna actually ask you about that. Later on was about that change there. Obviously there was that change for the fourth movie. How was that? I mean, how did that end up working out for you when it came to
It,
that relationship?
I was old enough at the time that, the way that I tackled it was the same way, kind of from the acting perspective. It
Mm,
was kind of like a job. It
mm,
was okay. Well, no matter what kind of wild change it is, like we still have to do our best and make this, as fun as the other movies, and still have a really good time, because if we're not having a good time, then the audience isn't going to have a good time. And it was really easy because Sarah was fabulous.
mm.
She was really fun to hang out with and really fun to work with, and she knew she was coming into something that was kind of a big deal after three movies, and she was just a super professional about it, and a lot of fun.
Well, it's definitely great to hear. Just because, like, I was thinking, like, yeah, like you said, you could work with somebody for a good amount of time, and then somebody else comes in, and it's kind of like a job, right? Like, you have someone that thinks that they have all the experience in the world, but they want to kind of run the shots and call the shots and run the show, and
Right,
it doesn't work out, and it can make a lot of bad vibes for everybody.
right. Yeah, thankfully it wasn't like that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, you were in all the Halloweentown movies. I mean, classic movies. We watch them every year. Um, what was your favorite one out of all of them? I'm sure you hear that question all the time.
I do, and it's always tough. I always do think about it every time, because you never know what kind of memories will pop up every now and then. But I always come back to the first one.
Mhm,
When everything was kind of brand new and exciting, and
mhm.
it was just us three kids running around Halloween Town, trying to solve the mystery and stop the bad guy. It was just it was simple times.
Oh yeah.
And
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
it just was a really, because it was a new experience too. That made it really special, and we were just kind of creating this brand new thing that we didn't know was going to be a brand new huge thing.
Yeah, and I mean everything. All of them worked out so well. From from the first one all the way to when you guys go to high school and are meeting, other creatures and things like that. So I mean, it worked out really well. Last night I was talking with my girlfriend, and we were talking about this episode. And I was like, man, I wonder how another movie would work out where you guys are all grown up, you guys have your own family, you guys have little Cromwells that you're trying to teach how to do everything, and then you guys are just battling another monster, right? Maybe somebody that was, in the first couple movies that ended up having, a family of their own, and now you got all these villains that you're having to battle. I don't know. It could work out, maybe it wouldn't.
No, I think that would be great. I've often just sat around and thought about what it would be like to do another one, and what kind of story they would come up with. And I'm open to I'm open to anything. It would be great
Yeah.
to go have that experience again and work with everybody again, just
Mhm.
for old time's sake.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we got Hocus Pocus too. My personal opinion, I feel like we didn't really need it. That movie should have just stopped at the first one. But you know what? Some people liked it. Others had their opinions, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, so I haven't. I heard mixed things.
Yeah, exactly. So we went to St. Helens, Oregon, obviously where Halloween Town was filmed.
Mhm.
They also filmed Twilight. Some scenes from Twilight there. Stand by Me. I mean, both iconic movies alone. You add Halloween Town to that. I mean, that town's got to be pretty famous by now. But the day we went, you and Philip Van Dyke were there, and we didn't know the process of meeting everybody. But like, we stood there and we're like, who is that? But then like we looked, we're like, oh shoot, it's the guys from Halloween Town.
That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, you obviously go back, and quite a few times. There's that. the whole month of October. They're celebrating every weekend and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty
Um,
up there.
oh yeah, no, we loved it. Now my thing is when we were there, did the town seem that small when you guys were filming, or just as you got older, maybe did you realize that as well?
No, it always felt like a real like a real small little town, you know. Yeah, I think we knew that going into it, and we knew it during the filming, because so many of the people in town so many of the extras in the movie were just people from town, you know,
Oh really?
and that really gave it a very personal, personal feeling while we were filming it.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I mean, we got there, we walked through the whole town. We're like, there's no way. We drove an hour from Portland for a small town, but like we enjoyed it. We hit like a thrift shop there.
Nice,
We walked around, took some pictures, filmed, like recorded a little vlog.
great.
But yeah, no, it was cool. It was cool seeing a lot of the things, like the pumpkin. We seen the taxi with Benny inside of it, City Hall, the movie theater. But I mean, there's a lot that you can do. That's for sure.
Yeah.
If you have time to wait in lines.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
There's sometimes I think there was a lot more people in the couple of years before the pandemic,
Mhm.
but there's been quite a turnout at that festival the last several years it's been in operation.
Yeah. It's it's a fun time. I mean, just to say you've been there, been on site. Do you think a lot of those props are actually from the movie, like the cab and Benny? Is that all, or
I don't know that for sure. Honestly, I don't know if
okay,
those are still left over from the movie or if those are just those are fan created maybe.
okay?
I'm not sure. I'll have to ask. I think I'm supposed to go back this year. I'm not 100% sure yet, but if I do, I'll have to check on that.
Oh man, we'll keep an eye out. Maybe we'll get back out there again and
That'd be great.
hopefully get a chance to meet you.
Yeah,
Um, so I do have some questions, and I'm sure you probably hear these all the time as well. But these are ones that like we kind of wanted to know. Do you have a favorite character, like anybody in the movie, character wise that you personally enjoyed?
oh, definitely. It's Benny. Um, I absolutely adore Benny. Getting to work with an animatronic skeleton when I was 12 was just one of the coolest things I had ever done. And even as I got older, it just never, and he kept showing up in the other movies. It never stopped being cool. So
Mhm.
that would be kind of my only preference for if there is another Halloweentown movie and they get us back together. There has to be Benny has to be in it, and I have to be able to have a scene with him. That's kind of my only
For sure, for
my
sure.
only,
Would Benny? Oh, go ahead. I'm
that's
sorry.
my only demand.
Okay. Would Benny have decayed a little bit? Would you say if he has a returning role if they ever make another one?
Gosh,
There has to be some alterations, right?
yeah. I mean, it's been what 25 years this year.
Yeah,
So so yeah, I would imagine he's maybe he's had some work done. I don't know. Maybe he's kept
something.
himself up.
Yeah. So we actually asked like a couple of our friends to even ask us some questions. So, and I want to ask his question real quick. So my
Sure.
buddy Joe asked. He said he wanted to know how did the special effects of the movie change throughout the films. What was your favorite from each film? So I know that's a long list to kind of go down, but that's also something that was on my mind. Like for that time, there was a lot of like effects and stuff that you guys had, that were way ahead of its time.
Well, I can start. The beginning of that should be pretty easy for me because I could definitely throw Benny into that same answer as
Mm-hmm.
far as like my favorite effect from the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always been a big fan of practical effects over CGI and stuff like that. Like I love the classic Star Wars movies before they added the special edition and all the CGI. Just because I know how much work goes into it, and
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it so much. So having all the animatronics, that practical stuff in the first movie, the puppets. That was really, really fun. And I think maybe, I feel like there was just more of an evolution from puppets to CGI and green screen and stuff as the movies went on. But I'm trying to think of another effect that I remember being turned into a dog at one point.
Okay.
Um, and I don't, then unfortunately I wasn't there for any of the dog stuff. I did my thing, and that was kind of the end of my day. And I
Mm.
was sent home, and the dog got to have his moment. So I didn't even get to, I don't remember even getting to meet the dog. I think that's a bit of an injustice, but,
Yeah.
uh, I liked that a lot, and the broom riding, of course. You never get tired of the broom riding. I'm glad I got to do a little bit of that. I think that was in the second one,
Hmm.
um,
Yep.
and then yeah, I'm trying to remember the third one. I know there was a lot of monsters running. I love when there's monsters running around.
Yeah.
When there's actual people wearing masks, playing the monsters, doing that like that. That's my favorite day. That's my favorite day of filming anytime.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think Halloween definitely is like one of my favorite, for sure, holidays. Just because everybody gets to dress up and
Yeah.
use their imaginations and things like that, right? That's just always been one of my favorite things. So, no, I appreciate that answer. I know once he watches this, he'll definitely appreciate that as well.
Good. I hope I answered.
Um, so, did you have like a favorite scene that you did?
Let me think. Yeah, I think my favorite scene, just out of everything that I can remember, is being in the taxi cab with Kimberly and with Emily in the first movie,
Mhm.
while we were just riding around with Benny driving. Because we did, there was a whole day of doing that, and so it was just the three of us got to just hang out and goof off, and while we were in the back seat, and watching the skeleton drive, and it was just a day that was imprinted in my memory as being really, really fun, and so that probably ended up being my favorite scene.
Okay. Was there a moment that you personally, I would say disliked, but maybe a challenge on set of those movies?
Well, there was so I was talking about the turning, or was it the same as turning into a dog? I can't remember if that was that same part, but there
Uh,
was a scene where I think it was in the fourth movie where I got some pudding or something, and I'm running, and then the Sinister Sisters do something, and I fall right, and I like go face first into this pudding. Um, that was fun, but it was a challenge because we could only do it once. But it was one of those situations where, because there was no second take, there was no like, or there could have been, but it would have taken hours of cleaning everything up and and changing clothes and
yeah,
cleaning clothes, and so you don't want there to be a second take because everyone's going to be really, really annoyed if there is.
yeah.
And so those are always challenging to get through, but I remember getting it and getting it done, and getting it done well, and being very proud of myself. So
See,
that
when I watch that again, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna be like, okay, he had one take with that scene.
one take.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now, this kind of question is gonna kind of lead into a couple more. Like, um, did you work with all the cast on the set? So I know you worked with like Kimberly and Sophie's character,
Mhm.
pretty close. Obviously, you talked about that relationship, but like Debbie Reynolds, you obviously worked with her.
Yeah,
Um, and you obviously know that's a big name to a lot of people.
yeah,
Um,
she was great.
yeah. So was there like anybody that you really kind of didn't get to work with?
Um, Not. I'm trying to think. Anybody that I didn't get to work with would have just been anybody that maybe Dylan didn't
Hmm.
have any scenes with. But even then,
Hmm.
like I would have, I usually made it a point to try to meet everybody. Like if I was there on the same day with somebody
Hmm.
else, even if we didn't work together directly, I was big into making friends and meeting everybody.
Hmm.
So I tried to. So there were. It really would have had to have been a day where we weren't around each other at all for me not to meet
Gotcha.
somebody and work with somebody, because that was pretty. pretty adamant about that. But yeah, no, nobody comes to mind. I think I got to meet pretty much everybody.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, St. Helens, like again, what we talked about, is such a small town. I'm sure it was hard not to be around a lot of people, right?
Right.
Um, do you ever get people that come up to you at Spirit of Halloweentown and say, "Hey, I was an extra in the movie"? I mean, I never knew about the extras until you told me.
Yeah, I think there have been. I have. I always try to give a little bit of recognition because we me and Phil and Emily we usually help with the pumpkin lighting ceremony
Mhm.
during the festival, and so we get to say hi to everybody for a few minutes. And I always ask if anybody's there who is around during the filming of the movie as an extra or just hanging out or whatever. There's usually a response from that. So I would imagine that they're around.
Okay. So if 1 and 2 were filmed in St. Helens, correct? And then
Only one was, unfortunately.
only one was.
The we had such a good time and would have gone back, but the second one was filmed in Vancouver, in Canada,
Oh, okay.
and the third and fourth ones were filmed in Salt Lake City, Utah.
That's very unique and just different.
Yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, no, that's crazy. Now, is there like, so as we wrap up here, we like to always ask a question, but I wanted to ask you, is there anything that you're working on movie wise or anything that you want to share with anybody that you can, or if there's anything we should be ready to expect, but you can't really speak on it?
no, no, not at this time.
Okay.
My schedule's pretty empty.
Mm.
I am just waiting to see what other theater opportunities come up here in town, and yeah, that's really about it. I don't have any projects that I'm working on. I'm a writer as well, and so I'm
Okay.
always thinking of ideas, in my spare time. But I don't have anything, nothing solid forthcoming yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think my schedule is freeing up after today, so we might just take a little break, spend
Great.
some time together, lay low, and then just get ready to go back at it again.
Nice.
Um, so we like to ask a question for people that want to get into, like acting and things like that. For in your case, or just in general, people that have goals that they want to achieve. Are there like what kind of advice would you give for anybody that wants to keep pushing through or even has an eye on something but don't really have a go about some
Um,
getting that done?
I always recommend, to me, experience is very important at any level.
Mm,
Um, working with people and connecting yourself with people who are doing things that you want to be doing. In acting, that's as easy as sticking with community theater and
mhm.
taking whatever role you can get, no matter how small it is. If it's not the one that you quite want, well, you never know. It'll probably still you'll learn something from any production that you do. So, it'll teach you something, and stick with it. Stick with it. Stick with the things you really want to do until you're sure until you're sure that maybe if you don't want to do them anymore, basically.
Mm.
Um, you're never really gonna know until you have those experiences, and with the entertainment industry you have to do a lot of work as when you're starting out. It's like a favor for a friend, and maybe you won't even get paid for some of the stuff that you're doing, but that's fine because you're going to gain a reputation of somebody who works hard even if they're not being paid. So I just always think any form of experience in what you're looking to do is invaluable.
Definitely. And that kind of like, we take a lot of the advice as well and we apply it to what we're doing. We don't ever bring anybody on that we don't ever have any interest in talking with. So not only have we contacted you to bring on, but we've also contacted Emily and Kimberly,
Okay.
um, and, Phil, and you've been the one to get back to us so far. So, we've always had questions about the shows that we watch or like the music we listen to. And, we always, your time is valuable and we don't ever like to waste anybody's time. So, we just always try to perfect our craft and make it a little bit different experience from what everybody else is used to. Like you probably heard some questions that you haven't been asked before. So
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. There we are. Jay, I appreciate you coming on today.
Pleasure.
Spirit of Halloweentown. Hopefully we make it out there this year.
Yeah, let me know if you do. We can say hey.
For sure. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Take care.
You too.